Hello and welcome to the new Tin Dog podcast. Now, this week I've decided to do something a little bit different and record a bit of the podcast before the episode actually airs, because I've got a feeling tonight's is going to be a little bit important. So what I thought I'd do is I'd record my reactions before the show, and then after it's been watched, if that makes sense. Now, you see, the thing about tonight's show is Gridlock. It's set in New York. Yeah, I know we've all been there, but it's a chance to make the place look like something else. But then again, it's got Ard Luhanlin as one of the cat nun people. Yeah, we'll have to see if that's any good. But of course, the important bit is the Face of Boe. Now, for the last year, we've known the Face of Boe would return at some point, and he would have some sort of secret, which he would reveal, I'm guessing, tonight. Now, the internet chatter, whether it's true or not, had it that the secret would be 3 words, just 3 words, and of course lots of people had different thoughts on what this secret would be. I am your father, or I prefer Torchwood, or something along those lines. But of course, the clever bunny, at this point, and I have to say this is recorded before the show is on the 3 words, you are not alone. Now I know are not is 2 words, so it would be you aren't alone, or Gallifrey survived, or something along those lines. But is that wishful thinking? Is that just me hoping for the best? Or indeed, as some people would have it, the worst? Well, we'll have to get back to you on that. Now, of course, as with Mr. Saxon... yes, Mr. Saxon. Has anyone worked out if that's an anagram yet? Well, a friend of mine has suggested that it's an anagram of something, but I'll reveal that next time. Yes, Mr. Saxon. Crashing on. Tonight's story, I have very high hopes for. I like things set in the future. To be fair, it is set on another planet, although of course it's just Earth. We've all been there. We've all discussed whether people should be recording on other planets or not, but hey, let's not go there just now. We have been to the moon after all, and that almost counts as another world, but not quite. Oh, at this point, before I go into the end of this period, and then actually watch the episode, I would like to say a thank you to the Doctor Who podcast, Podshock, for playing my promo, and indeed mentioning me on my feedback. It was fabulous to hear myself on somebody else's show. And of course, I know that everyone listening to this will, of course, already be subscribed to their show, so I don't even have to plug it. But either way, I'd like to thank them. And if ever they need a guest presenter, just give me a shout, will you? Right, I'm going to go now and think about what the Face of Boe's secret may be. But to be fair, it might just be, oh, did I say I'd tell you next time? I'll tell you the time after I've seen you. See you in season 4. See you after the show.
But not yet, who needs secrets, eh?
I have seen so much, perhaps too much. I am the last of my kind, as you are the last of yours, Doctor.
That's why we have to survive. Both of us. Don't go.
I must, but know this, Time Lord. You are not alone.
Welcome to part 2. Did you enjoy that? I know I did. So, the not-so-clever money won. The Doctor is indeed not alone. Of course, everybody's money's now on that it's the Master's going to return. But hey, let's look at the episode. The episode as a whole. Nicely done. Very 2000 AD. The comic, not the date, obviously. Very Judge Dredd type world, but then again, that's not a bad place. Let's reference English comics for a change rather than American ones. Now, I know the place looked a bit like Star Wars, but let's face it, it's New York. And, well, let's look at the episode. It opens with a painting. Alright, it doesn't. It opens on the classic "Hello, where innocents were being attacked," but the innocents are directly from the painting American Gothic, and for those Rocky Horror fans amongst us, you'll know exactly the painting I'm referring to. It's the one in the hallway of Frankenfurter's castle, next to the coffin that is a clock during the time warp. Yes, it's also how Riff Raff and I believe Columbia, was it Magenta, are addressed on the opening sequence just in the church. I'm rambling, aren't I? Tell you what, let's get on with the review. Fairly standard introduction. You've got the arrival on New Earth. Now, the fact that the Doctor finally talks about, I'm going to use the word home world, because let's face it, God forbid he used the word Gallifrey more than once in a season. They talk about it, and as they've not actually talked about it for a very long time, you kind of got the feeling there was a rabbit off very early on. Of course, you had to get through the whole episode. The classic fans are waiting for that announcement, but everyone else just wanted to embrace the series. I'll tell you what did come as a surprise, finding out that the macro in it. Now, I've done some research. The Macro Terror was a series, it's a Troughton story, it's missing. There's an audio version, there are some photographs. Basically, it's giant crabs that live underneath some sort of mining. I'm not familiar with it. Please feel free to look it up. But basically, they're giant crabs, as you saw in this story. But it was nice that they reference an old monster from the old series. What's going to be next time? Oh, it's the Zarbi. Here they come. Zarbi. And that was in case my old mate Steve's listening. I don't know why, but he was a very big fan of that story. Terribly odd. Anyway, this week's story, very good. It was nice to see the Face of Boe back. Do you ever get the feeling when you're watching the Face of Boe that he was meant to speak using full articulated mouth, and then the effects people just went, oh, let's make him psychic, it's just easier? I have seen the actual Face of Boe prop, and it's even more impressive in real life. I saw it on a trip to Cardiff some time ago at the Doctor Who exhibition. I believe it may now be in Manchester, but as I haven't been to that exhibition and don't intend going until this season's finished, on the grounds that the exhibition is updated weekly with monsters in the previous week's show, if you see what I mean. For example, I don't know, there'll be pig monsters at some point, don't know, and then they'll end up in the exhibition, so you might as well wait till the series is finished and then you can see them all, because that way you get to see everything that'll be in this series. Anyway, as usually I'm digressing. The surprise in this episode was Ardal O'Hanlon's performance. Although he was using his one voice, which is fair enough, you couldn't help but think of Father Dougal, the classic character that he's famous for playing. But the performance was very strong. They were all very, very strong. I was impressed. Even Martha's performance, nicely done. Another story set in New Earth, well, you know, not a bad thing. I'm glad there were less cats in this. However, there was one cat that disturbed me. Looked a lot like a teen wolf and seemed to have two chained Vestal virgins. Yes, this brings us to something that someone online may possibly have referred to as the lesbian surtext, as opposed to the gay subtext. But then again, I don't want to wind up anybody and say the wrong politically incorrect thing. But it was nice to see the old ladies. Anyway, I did like this story. I hope you did. It's nice to know that someone survived. Everyone's money's on it being the master. However, if you listen to the BBC's commentaries, of which I hardly recommend, you can get those off iTunes. Just type in Doctor Who into the iTunes store, and my podcast comes up, Podshot comes up, the WhoCast comes up, lots of extremely good and high quality podcasts comes up, but also one called Doctor Who Season 3. Subscribe to that and you'll be able to download Russell T Davies and David Tennant talking about the episode. it's much, much easier than trying to find some sort of BBC 3, press the red button now, oh, you're disappointed, oh, you've missed a bit, you can't record it anyway, yes, you can, oh, Sky Plus is broken, kind of scenario. After you've seen the show a few times, you can just drive to work and listen to Russell T Davies talking about it. Let's face it, we all have the sort of memory of Doctor Who that we don't actually need the episode in front of us while we're listening to a commentary to know what's going on. David Tennant does admittedly say, oh, we do find out that the Face of Boe is right and wrong, which is a bit enigmatic, and you do actually hear Russell T have a bit of a sharp intake of breath when he says that, as if David was about to say something that he really wasn't meant to. Now, of course that could be staged. They are, after all, well, at least one of them's a very good actor. Anyway, that's not important. The important bit is, it was a good episode. I am fixating on one scene. However, the timings in the series kind of threw me a bit. The whole city seemed to become, the upper city, the above city, seemed to become a poison 23 years ago, which is when the old ladies were on the motorway, and apparently they were the first. But if everybody's dead, where were the people coming from to join the motorway unless they were already on it? How do people meet? That kind of thing. It's the mechanics. And of course the entire city died in 7 minutes. It's all terribly quick for some things and terribly slow for others, and it would have just been nice. Perhaps they all came from other parts of the Undercity and then joined the motorway. I just don't know. But of course I'm being pedantic, I'm just being picky, which, to be fair, is probably why you're listening to this podcast in the first place. Anyway, I did enjoy it, as always. I am very much looking forward to next week's, mainly because, well, apart from the Daleks being in it, of course, it's set in New York, and it's also set in, I believe, the 30s, which means you're going to have a lot of lovely art deco. Nice. Great. I'll let you go now, and then I'll speak to you next week for the first Dalek story of the year. Be seeing you.